Today's chat is brought to you by lootcrate.com. Save 10% on any new subscription at www.lootcrate.com/FFC. Be sure to enter the promo code BRIDGE10 for 10% savings.
Welcome to Focused Fire Chat. Explore together.
Welcome back for episode 102 of Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on September 29th, 2017, over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. Big shout out to the live chat here. Thank you so much for spending your evening with us. This is your host, Blue Crew 86. Justin had to take the night off due to a change in schedule, so be sure to send him some snack love over on Twitter at JustinSane0516. And also be sure to let Mel know that we miss her over on Twitter at The Wind of the Stars. She had to work tonight, and she will be out next week as well because she has another convention coming up that she's getting ready for. So we promised her that we'd try to have not too much fun, and I know that she was kind of upset at me because I mentioned that we might discuss some shaders, but yeah, so be sure to send both of them some love over on Twitter. And then from the depths of the madness-inducing mind naps, we are joined by our favorite Gunter, the one and only Green-Eyed Music Lover. Green, hope you're doing well. You looking forward to another two-person chat tonight?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I miss Justin though.
Yeah, he's just an update for those who don't follow Justin's
Twitter
humorous attempts at doing update videos on Twitter. Justin has a tendency to be a talker. I don't know if any of you are surprised by that, and so his Twitter videos kind of run long. But he is actually. We did get a chance to finally chat with him today. He's been kind of out of touch, as most of you probably over in Discord have noticed. He is actually kind of rebuilding everything on the house that they just moved into. So give him some patience on that. He's doing a lot of work to get that all ship-shape, basically. And then, given where he is, he doesn't have internet. so on top of all that, he's trying to figure out the internet situation and he has told me repeatedly, he's like, I really need to get back on here. So, and I was like, yeah, you do. Because, you just do. That's your job. Mm-hmm. To get back here. So, but yeah, be sure to give him and Mel some love over on Twitter. I know both of them really wanted to be here, and work has ramped up. I know for me it's been rather crazy, Green. I think you're in the same boat over there.
It's been intense. Life has caught up to a lot of us in a lot of ways, and coping with it has been interesting lately.
Yeah, work always gets in the way. Anyone notice that? It's just always in the way.
Not having enough time to play this video game that we have.
Video game, yeah. You have a job so that you can buy video games, but then you can't play the video games because you have a job.
Exactly.
It's like, guys, it's just okay. Chat wants to send Justin some oranges this week because Justin's favorite color is orange.
Oh gosh.
It is like,
if anybody can find an orange snake to send Justin, that would be perfect. Challenge
accepted. Oh man. All right, well, hey, let's run through the intro real quick. We actually have a pretty full one this week, and I'm actually really kind of excited. The research for this was, even though it's just going to be a introductory look, there's some really cool trivia that I'm kind of really excited to. And I know, Green, you have some good research that you had been putting in there.
Scannables, guys. All the scannables.
All right, so let's run through the intro, and then we'll jump right in. The topic of today's chat is going to be a look at the new worlds we have been introduced to in Destiny 2. I asked Green to put together a high-level summary of the topic, and this is what she had to say.
Our journey here has shown us many marvels. From the depths of the moon to the dizzying heights of Mercury, we have explored much. Yet there is so much more to see. Oceans of methane, trees of beautiful coloring, and spires of living metal daring us to climb their heights. these worlds beg us to explore them, to learn the secrets hidden in the multitude of long-lost sectors and defended by creatures that are as uniquely alien as they are powerful. There are realms of shadow within which creatures of darkness shelter from the light. Others serve as bastions against the monsters of the night for those who survived the last city's fall, disconnected from each other, until we returned. Until we brought the light back and shone upon these regions a hope for a new home, a new city. These are the worlds we are called to explore. These worlds will, in sharing their secrets, teach us the new laws which we are beholden to in this new age thrust upon us. Laws which will allow us to refocus the light and rise as new legends.
Before we get into that, however, I do have a few housekeeping notes. In our last chat, we got to hear our first impressions of Destiny 2. If you missed that and have any interest in hearing our thoughts, please be sure to check out the new www.focusedfirechat.com for archives of all previous chats, links to the other aspects of Focused Fire Chat out in the internet, and a growing collection of community articles. If you don't mind, please give us some feedback on iTunes to let us know how we're doing, as well as helping us continue to grow. As many of you already know, Focus Fire Chat is a cross-community gathering, where the intent is to offer a week-long, in-depth view of a particular subject from within the lore of Destiny and other games. This chat begins every Tuesday morning and runs until the following Tuesday, with topics decided by the group via a poll that begins every Friday and ends on the Tuesday morning of the new chat. Every Friday, at around 10 p.m. Central, we get together to stream a recap of the previous week's chat for those who are unable to participate. Please be sure to also give some support to the other podcasts in the Guardian Radio Network, found at theguardiansofdestiny.com. These include Guardian Radio, the first and longest running Destiny podcast on the net, Guardian 1, Ghost and Echoes, which also has the Destiny audio grimoire from Destiny 1, and the network's newest edition, a non-Destiny focused podcast, Paragon Radio. Our next chat's going to be a discussion on the evolution of light within the Destiny series. Be sure to weigh in on the poll this weekend to let us know what topic y'all are wanting to dig into after that. Links to that poll can be found on either Twitter or within our Discord server. With all that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the information and thoughts that the community had about the worlds of Destiny 2. Lorebot, let's go.
Lorebot 2.0 activated. Query received. Interfacing with expanded database directory. Response received. Displaying on screen for review.
Do we say thanks, Randy? Or like how do I know we upgraded Lorebot, by the way, because we had to because we don't have Grimoire. Let's just be honest.
Lorebot is awesome. He deserved an upgrade.
Yeah, Yeah. It's about time that he got some new things. So, but yeah, so for the intro, I guess the best way to kind of summarize what I was thinking to do for this episode is really to kind of run through a summary view and like an introductory view of each what's called regions. So there's for those who had gotten I think it's the Prima guide. You'll notice Prima. Is it Prima? It always feels weird calling it a Prima. Because I want to say, that's exactly what I was about to say, because I feel like I should add a Donna at the end of that name. But for those who have the Prima guide, you'll probably recognize these terms. For those who don't, I really do like the terminology that Prima uses, and that is the difference between regions and sectors. Sectors is something that I think everyone kind of knows about, but Prima kind of, and I guess this might probably technically be the actual terminology, but I just have only seen it in Prima so far. But they identify the worlds. So you have like Earth, Titan, Io, Nessus, and all those. Those are identified as regions. And then there are sectors within those regions. So what we'll do is we're going to break it into regions. There are close to there is over 100. No. Close to 100 sectors. So I'm not going to probably think we're going to get too far into the sectors, but definitely touch the regions. And I figure we'll just hit them in the same order that you hit them in the campaign. I think is the kind of the natural progression that we could go through for that, which would start us off with the EDZ, also known as, which I remember the episode that I could not for the life of me remember the EDZ, what that meant. It's the European Dead Zone. And Green, do you want to kind of start with the summary that we kind of got? Do you want to do the Prima guide, or do you want to do the summary that actually is from Bungie's website? Which one do you think we should start with?
Let's start with Bungie, since that's where it comes from, and then kind of go into what Prima thought about it, which I know is somewhat handed over by Bungie, like they hand over the information, but it's still a tiny bit different. It's a variant on things. So from Bungie itself, it says the European Dead Zone was ground zero for a cataclysmic event that left a massive shard of the Traveler, the source of every Guardian's power and immortality, embedded into the vast landscape. For years, only wild vegetation and the remains of an abandoned city were evidence of our forgotten past. Now, the Red Legion are using the European Dead Zone as a staging ground for their war machine.
And then, go for it.
I mean, which is a pretty basic, upfront. It kind of brings up the point that you'd forget about, is the fact that it actually is really near a cityscape. It's just the old city of, well, where Trostland, and I don't even know what that city is technically called, because it's not named.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about like I just know it as Trostland. Or are you talking about the Dark Forest? That city?
Well, is it a city there?
There's a city in the intro, like the
there's a wall.
Well, like right immediately. Oh, I guess that's true. It might just be the entrance to the wall that you kind of run through, but there's like the buildings right there that you run through. Mm-hmm. But I mean, yeah, and I know as usual, as anyone who has played Destiny 1 is probably not surprised to find out, there's a large debate about where it actually is.
As always.
So I think I know the kind of the generally accepted, and I'm going to emphasize the word generally because there's going to be people who disagree, is that it is somewhere in, guess what, Europe, just from the name. I think it's like generally kind of viewed as like in the area of Switzerland or Germany, is where that is like the ballpark area, which actually is, it actually brings up an interesting argument that I've seen actually over on Twitter a bit, is not Maya's,
Hawthorne's.
Yes,
line?
Hawthorne's line about flying across the sea to help the city. It's like, wait, what?
That drove me crazy.
Like, I mean, which I don't know. That cracked me up though.
I had a conversation about this with one of the guys in Discord, and what he brought up is the fact that if part of the EDZ takes place over in like the British Isles, technically the channel is still part of the ocean. So and
also technically the Mediterranean is a sea as well. So if depending on the angle, if you flew over, like, I mean, there are bodies of water that could be considered sea, but I just love that they're like, wait.
Yep.
But real quick, from the Prima guide, as Green has instructed me to say this now, I just want to call it the Prima Donna guide now, is really
That's
what
fine.
Okay, Prima Donna. The Prima Donna guide. I mean, I do have the Bife version.
I do too.
Okay, well,
Bife. Call it Prima Donna.
I think that Bife kind of bribed everyone in the Prima Donna company, and that's the only version out there. But anyways, from that guide, they said that what they have to say about the European Dead Zone. And by the way, if you guys have not, at least give it a glance over, because there is actually some really cool little lore snippets. There's not a lot. It's a very tactical, I mean, as should be expected with a game guide. It's a very tactical analysis of the game, but there are little lore snippets that are kind of buried within it that is pretty cool. So in the Prima Donna guide, they say, after the destruction of the last city, the survivors of humanity fled to the forest and caves in order to recover. Keen to crush any possible insurrection, Dominus Gaul has established a sprawling base of operations on the western side of this region, away from the pre-Golden Age structures and old settlements that dot the landscape. Hidden away within the woods are remains of the Traveler's Might, shards that help restore a Guardian's power. Other enemies also fight for dominance. Expect incursions of Fallen throughout the region and the odd and terrifying appearance of the Taken from time to time. So, yes, that's. I think. I mean that they actually, between the two of them, I think, do a pretty good job with the EDZ intro.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. It's one of the most massive maps we've ever gotten. And I think It is the largest map, even if you include the Siva expansion from D1 into. Now I can't even remember the name of that area. The Cosmodrome. There we go. Plaguelands and the Cosmodrome put together, this one's still bigger than it.
Yes, I think
all the different regions.
I want to say they said it was like 2 or 3 times the size.
It's so much fun, and it's a pain in the butt to go find all the scannables, by the way.
Yes, it is. Which, not to kick the dead horse on this one, but the Prima Donna guide has a guide for that as well. I feel like I should be getting like, yeah, that's true. It does. What it does though is it does give you a checklist, which I find very helpful. Though I don't know if you noticed the screen.
It doesn't have the tower.
It doesn't have the tower, and it actually is wrong on 2 of the regions. They have 1 extra on one of them and 2 less than they should on another. I was like, guys.
I spent 45 minutes trying to trigger one of them. It's like, wait, this is the picture. I'm lined up exactly. I left the planet and came back. Nope. Change characters, come back. Nope.
It's only for new players who are playing an EXO that has played less than 25 hours and has finished the campaign on Legendary. Oh wait, that's Halo. Never mind. But so let's get into a little bit of a deeper dive into here. And with the EDZ, one of the things that I actually would really suggest is check out Ishtar Collective. They have been doing an amazing job. A huge shout out to them and to our own Gunter team, who have been really helping with the transcriptions of all that stuff. And I know Rhino has been retrofitting his site with a lot of the weapon database and kind of connections there. But one of the really cool kind of, delivery systems from nice little trivia bits is actually in the treasure maps. Now, where I'm going to talk about these on each of these regions, because each region basically has 15 treasure maps that we have access to via the API. And through them, there's not like a huge amount of information in there, but it's all Cade perspective, which is just amazing to begin with. Like, for instance, for the EDZ maps, we learned a couple really fun little facts. First off, we get nicknames, in-world nicknames for the different enemies, one of which Fallen are actually called Spider Pilots, or Spider Pirates, according to Cade. Cade also
look like it.
they don't know they do, and but it's just like I'm loving the fact that and then he then also refers to the Cabal as space rhinos or just rhinos, and then we also learn that before he was brought into the fold of the Vanguard, Cade actually was very, very familiar with and was at home with most of the dead zones. He actually spent quite a bit of time in dead zones before the Vanguard kind of brought him in. And then also, should be no surprise to any of you from Destiny 1, Cade likes gambling, and one of the people that he gambles with is Marcus Wren, which is a name that most of you might be familiar with from the introduction to Sparrow Racing. Marcus Wren was one of the more infamous individuals with the Sparrow Racing League, or SRL. And we actually saw Marcus, we've seen Marcus throughout the Grimoire in Destiny 1 a little bit, but this is another nod to that he might still be around, as far as we know. We do know that he was involved with the cleanup post-Siva from the Ghost Fragment Fallen 6 card. And but yeah, so that was an interesting little thing. He apparently won a bet with Wren, and that's one of the caches that you go collect via the treasure maps. And then I know, Green, you had a bit of the shard piece that you wanted to kind of mention.
Right. I mean, well, I'm sure we're going to get into this, especially next week when we get into the episode about the evolution of light in the world. But this one scannable from the EDZ kind of just sums up how everything's a little bit wonky. There's still some kind of energy in this shard, but different from what we use. I still don't understand how the corruption and the Traveler's power can coexist so strong, but I guess there's a lot we don't understand. And I think that's definitely a good sum up for what the EDZ represents.
Mm-hmm.
That, yes, it's familiar because, yes, we had the Shard of the Traveler, which is familiar to us because we used the Traveler all last game, but this is a whole new realm. This is a whole new era for us. There's no real city. We're not even in the tower at this point. We're on the wall. And things are going to be different. There's going to be a lot more to learn. Anyway, that's my...
Yeah, no, and then on top of that, we actually got a little bit of a nod to this idea from the concept art. I believe it was I think it's Dorja Belbrook. I might be mispronouncing his first name, but this guy's artwork is just amazing. If you don't know who this is, it's Dorje. Belbrook is Bell. Brook. You need to look up his work. Most of the really kind of well recognized concept art from Destiny it's a good chance that he's the one that created it. But he actually had a concept art for some of the Dark Forest, and one of the things that he explained was he said that the idea was that the water was corrupted with energy from the Shard of the Traveler, and it's actually causing the trees to blister and bend away. So that's where you get that kind of that creepy look from the Dark Forest. So and that's that's kind of straight from the horse's mouth on a person who kind of did the did the concept art for some of these areas. So I mean, there's some really cool little trivia there. Let's see, subclass. I know we mentioned the subclass. We'll definitely be talking about those more in detail next week. Let's see.
The mind map for this episode is actually quite huge. We're really kind of picking and choosing for it because we expanded on a lot of the different things, like all the different areas,
the items
on the map, the items that you get, the Scanimals are in there, the different adventures and quest lines. I mean,
yeah, I'm pretty pleased with this map, actually.
Yeah, I think this map is one of the better utilized out of all of them. I think they do a really good job of tying all the different quests and missions and adventures into it, which is nice. But
yeah, the only thing that I think before we jump to Titan, the only thing that I really would like to talk about, I did, like I said, I'd mentioned to Mel that we would be doing a little bit of a shader discussion, but since Mel's not here, I don't want to do a full costume analysis. But I do want to mention each region has a designated set of items, whether that's resource, the treasure maps. But part of that is also with the new shader system, we do have actually region-based shaders. And then also, excuse me, also there are region-based armor sets. So the shaders for the European Dead Zone are the Dead Zone bark and the Dead Zone foliage. Both of those obviously are pretty earthy. They're kind of the green-brown, or mostly green, because of the moss.
Camo.
But they're all,
Camo.
I was about to say they're all camo. They're always going to be camouflage, and that's really not a surprise for this particular region, because that's kind of what they're doing, is they're hiding. The armor set itself is the Wildwood. It is the name set. There's always going to be like a name set, and then there's a generic legendary set. This one's the European Dead Zone armor. I know it's really imaginative. But the Wildwood armor is that kind of that bulky armor that a lot of us have seen in the intro videos. The Titan has that really thick helmet. And I mean, the flavor text, I have it linked all in the mind map for those who really want to get to it. It's most of the quotes are going to be from Devrim. Actually, I think all of them are from Devrim. And then one of the class item is actually going to tie back into one of the entries, which is the new terminology for our lore tabs. Ishtar is kind of calling those entries, and I'm going to go with it because I think that actually makes a lot of sense as well. So lore entries, that is going to be the Wildwood summary is actually a lore entry. And it's really just, kind of a conversation between, I believe this one's a conversation between Devrim and our Guardian, and kind of talking about Hawthorne and stuff like that. So there's a lot of kind of cool little conversations. It's, again, as we've seen with Destiny 2, there's a really strong push to kind of realize the characters and make them 3D and make them kind of more human, which is I really like it. But Green, do you have anything else on this one, or do you want to jump into Titan?
Let's talk about the mentors a little bit.
Oh, okay,
I guess
yeah.
Not really mentors for each region, just our contact for each region.
Oh, yeah. The main vendor.
Because I think that each of them are very telling for their landscapes.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
Devrim is a former city militiaman.
Yes.
Which now we know that the city actually had militia that was not guardians. And I don't know if we knew that before.
We kind of had, well, I always kind of took it more as an official acknowledgement of what a lot of us assumed with like the forces of the city and all that. They are still around. You actually see forces of the city in the, it's not the tower. What is this? It's technically the tower, but it's not the tower, the wall, the new social space.
It's called the tower still, even though we're on the wall.
But you actually see some forces of the city walking around. Those are the humans with guns who are going to talk about smugglers. There's a lot of smuggling going on in Destiny 2. But yeah, we assumed that there was militia and a police force, and so this is kind of, I always just kind of took it as this is the official nod that yes, that is actually what's going on.
Right. So he's our main contact there. He kind of walks us through, teaching us about scannables first off, and then walking us through some of the different adventures. He's very cheeky, and I have yet to actually had any tea.
I was about to say, he's
kind of a jerk on that.
Yeah, he keeps mentioning that he doesn't have tea. I want coffee from him. At this point, he owes me coffee.
Yeah, as often as you had to run back to him. But yeah, he's at the top of the church. He's a sniper, and according to Hawthorne, a pretty darn good one.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, he is also, I think, the only vendor who interacts with you, like he has a line in one of the scannables. And I think that's really only the first one because he talks about finding more scannables later. And I think that's the only one that is not just ghost.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'd have to go back through. I don't remember
another one.
I have to go back through. Because, you're talking about that very, very, very first one when he's kind of like running you through everything.
And you scan the fallen banner that's in the church. That's the only one that I think that has 2 lines.
Yeah, I want to say I have a feeling that there's another one, but I can't remember it now that you said that. I was like, I can't remember it. I'm gonna have to go back and.
It might be on IO. I haven't finished IO yet as far as grabbing all the scannables, so might be. Don't know. But that's the vendor, and the resource we get is Dusk Light, which is Dusk Light literally just a piece of the Traveler, like the little shard of the.
I kind of get the feeling that like the Dusk Light, there is one. If I'm remembering this correctly, there is a scannable that is a Dusk Light. And I think that was but I think that's the one that you were reading. And I kind of took it as like not like a direct piece of the Traveler, but like something that's kind of like
I don't know of it.
Not well, yeah, kind of like it's like oh man, I don't even know the word for it, but like how like when you have water in you let it air dry and it's that calcification that's left over. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I kind of get. The Dust Light is like that crystallization of that energy source, that energy, and it's like it is, but it's not. Like it is, but it's not. And I kind of always got that feeling from the Dust Light.
A lot of the different resources feel that way.
Oh yeah. Like, well, and
the one that's literally on Titan is literally just the. Well, we'll get to that when we get to that.
Yeah. Well, I was about to say because the Titan one, and then
Nessus?
is it Data Lattice? Is that the Nessus one? Data Lattice. That one, yeah, that one is literally leftover. It is leftover stuff. So yeah, I kind of get that feeling from. You're right. I do get the feeling from all the resources. Now that you say that, now that I'm thinking about it, it's kind of like the residual energy that's just kind of been sitting there, or has been kind of growing there. And for the dead zone, that's kind of the other thing is like everything in the dead zone is explained as kind of like it grows on you, literally. I love that quote from Devram. He's like, no, literally, the moss, it gets everywhere.
It's like sand.
It's so. But yeah, that's kind of how that's what I kind of in my head I kind of see the Dust Light as, just because it's got that crystalline structure and it's kind of most of the Dust Light that I've found has been near water. Is just kind of, for me at least, I don't know if that's intentional on their part or if it's just the way I run through maps. So it's always been kind of around water. Man, take that with what you will. So, but yeah, talking about water, but not water. You want to jump over to the methane bubble?
Oh, I see. I've been really excited about this one because this means I get to study kind of planet type things, and I really enjoy studying like the solar system because I'm a geek like that. But yeah, we're gonna head over to Titan, the moon of Saturn that is literally made up of methane. Now, granted, in the game, it makes it look like the whole planet is methane. In real life, it's like lakes of methane, not oceans that are completely encompassing.
This is not a water world.
No, it is not. Although
there is no Kevin Costner running around with giant fish.
Yeah.
I do like the bit on the nose that Bungie had with Titan, where their vendor is a Titan, so the Titan is on Titan. That makes me giggle.
And Sloan is one of the more cheeky of the Titans that
Sloan's
I've ever
amazing.
heard. So, all right. So
you want to jump on you want to do the Bungie one, and then I'll do the prima donna.
Yep, we'll do the prima donna guide second. So Bungie says, the great monuments of mankind's utopian golden age lie toppled or half submerged within the rolling ocean that blankets the entire surface of Titan. All that remains is a flotilla of construction barges and a lone human habitat that serves as a perfect hiding place for some of humanity's scattered forces and something far more sinister below. Dun dun dun. The thing that everybody's been talking about.
Oh, gosh.
And if you haven't seen any of the probably 14, 15 different lore videos that have been made on it at this point, that's not even just all Bife and Mylan. Normally those two, but like Beard has gone and done it, and everybody's doing one. Everybody's doing a lore video on this. And even some of them have done multiples. I think Mylan's done 2 different videos.
Yeah, I think that... I know. I think. Oh man, I don't know. I know one of them did it. Yeah, one of them's done it. All right. So from the prima donna guide, orbiting the planet of Saturn and nearly 50% larger than the Earth's moon, this planetoid has been colonized somewhat. The choppy methane oceans have been harvested despite the inclement weather conditions, including almost continuous violent storms. Currently, the shipyard is in disrepair with fallen incursions, but a prelude to the real threats aboard the methane rig platforms and an arcology facility that was once a luxury residential complex. The Hive are here, and they have clawed deep into this place, secreted their nests around the rusting platforms and chambers, and turned this remote outpost into a festering hellhole.
Mm-hmm.
And an experimental breeding ground, much to our ghosts, much to our ghosts' enjoyment.
They breathe. Those things breathe. That's creepy.
I just love his reaction every time it talks about the Hive experimenting with breeding. He's like, ugh. Yes. Between that and failsafe, we have a very, very, very frustrated ghost this game around.
Yes, we do. A frustrated and utterly disgusted half the time ghost. Man, dear Lord. I mean, Titan is an interesting one in a lot of different ways.
Right.
There's just the different regions. It's exclusively Fallen and Hive. There's no Cabal on Titan.
Correct.
I don't remember. There's some Taken in some missions.
In missions, there's...
Isn't there? There is.
Yes, there's some Taken. I want to say, I don't know. I don't remember if there's any Taken on the patrol, though. I don't think I've run into Taken on patrol.
I don't think so. It's mostly Hive in one region and then Fallen in the other.
Yeah, and I don't think even in missions there's any Cabal, are there?
No, there's no Cabal on there at all.
Real quick,
you could see that in the Prima guide because they have that breakdown for you.
Mm-hmm. God, I feel like we should be getting kickbacks.
I know. Throw the giant book on the floor.
So the treasure maps for this one, again, we get 15, and they are all over on Ishtar. But we learned that Cade has a bit of a history with Titan. He uses Titan frequently as a rest stop on his mini trips back out to the reef, which apparently he made a lot of. And then here's an interesting one. Cade's got security clearance to all of Arcology on Titan. Mm-hmm. So all the Arcologies, Cade just walks in. Like, he doesn't have to unlock things. He doesn't have to find alternative routes. All the systems recognize him as having security clearance to go anywhere that he wants.
Which is interesting.
Which is very interesting, combined with the growing theory of his connection to Bray. Like, we already knew that he was kind of connected to Bray. Now there's a lot of kind of murmuring about what exactly that connection could be. Now, to Cade's perspective, because remember, Cade was resurrected and he doesn't have really any memories of his previous life. He attributes this to the Exos having it, quote, made back in the Golden Age, end quote. So, not really Cade, but good try. Though, and again, I made a comment here, though recent theories of his more intimate connection to Bray could also be part of the explanation. So again, we know that, and then we know through the Lost Pacific armor set, which is going to kind of segue into Green's point here in a second, but the Lost Pacific armor set actually calls out the issue of having issues with Clovis Bray itself. With the lore entry Lost Pacific, you actually hear from a Dr. Shanice Pell, and this is an individual who is talking to their significant other, and he or she is speaking about Ishtar Collective's endless audits and Clovis Bray's network protocols, and how they have kind of slipped under the radar in a way to get out to Titan to start building basically something that will hopefully challenge the Traveler at its own game. So which actually kind of points to that anomaly that's below the surface might not be anything that we've seen before, because the Lost Pacific team was actually trying to figure out a way to do what the Traveler was doing without the Traveler's involvement. So they were looking at creating something. We also kind of have an anomaly in Titan or around Titan in space. If you look at the Lost Pacific, that is the old emblem of the space shuttle that kind of looks like the Apollo space shuttle. And we hear from the Lost Pacific flavor text that Dr. Pell's, again, significant other, I don't know if it's a male or a female, but their daughters are missing, him or her, and Pell is in search for them, and they have sent out probes, and then something went wrong, basically. And Pell, actually, one of the closing comments that Pell has, and I believe it's on the leg armor, so that's the Lost Pacific legs, he says, or they say, this research has to get out, even if I don't. People have to know what this anomaly is. And it is an anomaly in space because they sent a deep space probe towards it. So there's a lot of mysteries that are going on Titan that aren't just on Titan, but actually around that area in space. But Green, I know you had some comments on Titan as well that you wanted to make.
Mm-hmm. Most of the scannables on Titan's scannables are actually mostly about Titan and like the history of Titan, which is kind of cool. A lot of the other scannables don't have that same kind of topic, I guess. One of them says that the gravity on Titan is 1.352 meters per second squared, except for the one spot where you find it, which is the very first scannable you can find if you're doing it in order of missions. It's floating rocks. And where have we seen floating rocks? I mean, if you look up... Anyway.
Yeah. Well, the Vex have them too, technically.
Yeah, everybody seems to have them. The Hive have them. The Vex
it's how
have them.
I mean, it's what the cool kids have now. I mean, just if you don't have a floating.
That's why Gaul was so angry. He
didn't have
floating rock.
Not only did he not have any toys, he didn't have any of the new toys.
Some of the other things from the different scannables talks about people logging in and that there's an emergency and they weren't able to log out, so there's like an emergency that happened that possibly wiped everybody out on Titan. There's the scannable about the thing that's below, and it talks about that one. Where is that scannable? I put it on here, I swear I did.
It says the system used to detect underwater vessels looking to dock here at the shipyard. That's strange. That it still works, and it's picking up something below us, and very, very big.
Mm-hmm. There's also one of my favorite scannables talking about the different types of plants that they had on Titan that they were producing. They had, where is it? I am having a hard time finding the things that I put on here. Because in any way, shape, or form.
I like the pineapple one.
That's the one I'm talking about. It's like, okay.
Okay. What a weird idea for a fruit.
Right. And that's literally the only fruit that we have that is on the list. Everything else is a made up one. Like somebody just like, this is a really funny name. Pineapple is a funny
palm
name.
fig. A palm fig.
Yes.
What was it?
Kiwi
Palm
cucumber.
fig, kiwi cucumbers, and then 12 tons of pineapples. Pine apples?
It's like, okay, you guys have a good sense of humor. I like you. I like you.
Man.
And the different jingles. Okay. Not to be like totally throw back to some of our older episodes, but when I heard the jingles, I got really excited because it reminded me of when I did the call for the summary that sounded like a jingle for Columbus Gray. Like, yay, more material.
Well, but again, a connection here is, think about Titan. It is connected to the Clovis Bray network, so it makes sense that they would have these kind of weird jingles. Like, what was the one? New Pacific Ecology. The next frontier is you.
New Pacific Ecology. The next frontier is you. And it's something like that. It's like, yes. Yes, yes, yes. And the fact that Ghost sings it, like, okay, yes, happiness. Happiness is listening to Ghost sing a jingle. Oh, the one scannable, though, there's another location mentioned in one of the scannables. Hyperion, which I haven't seen a whole lot of people talk about. And that's a possible colony out here.
Yes, it's also a company in Borderlands.
Yes, a very, very annoying company.
What? No, they're not that bad. They are. They need to go away.
Oh, handsome Jack. Anyway. Yes.
So many inappropriate sound clips.
I almost quoted one of them.
I know. I was like, nope. Censor.
Yeah.
Yes, and the other really cool trivia item, and this is a slight spoiler if you haven't played this mission yet, but there is a mission on Titan that actually, based on your actions during that mission, there is an alternative ending that yes, there is a really cool alternative ending that Mylan, I'm going to give a big shout out to Mylan for doing the video on this one, because I liked the way that his video was done on it. He really kind of points out the implications of this particular. I don't want to spoil it for people, but it's really cool. It's really, if you want
Enemy of My Enemy, or is it Enemy of My Enemy?
Yeah. I think that's the particular mission. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, go look up Mylan's video for it. Just a heads up, though, it is kind of a spoiler if you haven't finished that particular mission. But yeah, that is for me one of the cool little trivia tidbits that I've seen so far. Is that particularly the implications of what that is kind of showing.
Did you mess it up, or did you actually?
I haven't played it yet.
Oh, see, I messed it up because I'm trigger happy.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So I haven't seen it yet because I haven't gotten to that point in any of my other characters. So now that I know it's a thing, I'm going to do it the right way instead of being me.
Oh man. Well, and let's jump to, you want to jump to Nessus real quick? The centaur people?
Yeah.
The horse people?
Yes.
Were we invaded by horse people?
Oh, Nessus.
You want to grab the bungees?
Yeah.
All right, perfect.
Bungie talks about it, and they say, lush with giant twisted trees, deep caverns, waterfalls, and silver swamps, the origin of this planetoid remains unknown. What is clear is that the Vex have nearly transformed the entire planetoid into a machine world, above and below the surface, for those Guardians willing to brave the dangers and explore the myriad of mysteries. Treasures beyond the imagination await. Oh, Nessus. I've spent more time on Nessus than any other.
I'm waiting to find the horse people. So from the prima donna, a minor centaur planet changed into a machine planetoid by the Vex, the Red Legion have recently landed on this world ostensibly to start an impressively large strip mining operation. Vex entities were subsequently awoken to this invasion, and the region is now overrun with Vex forces who are adeptly battling the remnants of the Cabal and some ragtag fallen exploratory forces also on the world. Nessus would be strange and wonderful to explore, with breathtaking block-like architecture, massive lakes of white fluid, and grand vistas. There are interior sectors that offer a glimpse into the very core of this planet, but the architecture is swarming with Vex, the water is deadly Redulorian fluid, and the grand vistas lead to deadly drops.
Can we first talk about the mission that you have?
My cotton socks.
Oh my god. I never laughed so hard as when I saw him stuck. It's like, yeah, you kind of deserve that. You totally deserve that. Okay, I don't think we need to worry about spoilers for that one, because that's campaign, and if they haven't finished it at this point...
It's the best. It's one of the best missions, because the banter between him and Failsafe.
Mm-hmm. And she keeps bringing it up. Like
the Cade unit has broken this.
Your designation is to fix anything the Cade unit does. Oh god. The captain. Oh, so many good lines.
The best part about it too is that Failsafe's not the only one who keeps bringing it up, because if you do patrols on Nessus, Cade is constantly trying to prove Failsafe wrong. Like half of the resource patrols, like where you have to, or the collection patrols where you have to kill Fallen, at least they're like, he's like, yeah, Failsafe says that there's nothing use. Let's show her how wrong she is. It's like, oh my god, there's like a banter between the two of them just going on the entire time.
It's like, she's an AI. Why are you arguing with AI?
Because I mean, technically, he's an AI in a really weird way.
Sort of. He's still got consciousness. We're not going to talk about that.
Not yet. I do. That it will be on IO. Actually, there's a scannable that does talk about. Or I think it's on IO. I think one of the treasure maps.
Treasure maps. I probably.
Oh, do I not have it on here?
I don't know. I don't have it on my map yet, as far as the scannable map, because I've only gotten the first 9 scannables in IO.
No, there is a it might not be a treasure map, it might be a scannable, but it's a conversation basically that Cade has that basically confirms that they have none of the original organic composition of their bodies. Right. Exos don't have anything, because Cade basically says, it was someone insulting him, and he it was IO, because it's the argument between him and Eris, the treasure map that has the argument between him and Eris. So that is on IO. I'll get to that, but yeah, he basically confirms that piece of exo lore.
Oh yes. And just the different areas. Exodus Black. I'm sure we're going to do a whole on Exodus Black, because there's a lot there too. Mm-hmm.
The trivia for this region is Exodus Black's journey. There is so much that went wrong with Exodus Black that we don't know, and we know that the captain and crew apparently were really good at what they did. Because they survived. I mean, the entire thing. Well, no, I mean, right. But I mean, what I meant is the crash course that they had to plot to Nessus. Because he was talking about like the fourfold calculations having to be done into sixfold, and like they had to recalculate based on space-time slippage, and like just like, you know, it's just the guy who was doing the piloting was just, I'm like, the fact that he was able to calculate all that, you know, was pretty impressive.
Right.
And then, yes, they survived for a little bit,
Right.
but
that's such a sad little mission.
oh,
Finding the captain.
What is that one called? The
Captain, my captain. There's two different ones. There's
yeah,
two
no, but
back
it's the
to back.
second one, isn't it? It's like simulation of grief or something.
That one's a good one too. It's just so some of the other things that you have to remember is that the team that flew Exodus Black, they were pre-collapse. They were leaving as the collapse was going to happen, essentially. And we don't know why Exodus Black crashed there. We know that they weren't intending to go to Nessus.
I kind of got the feeling that is why it crashed, was like
the collapse.
No, that like Nessus, because I got the feeling that Nessus kind of like jumped out of nowhere, because they said in the armor set for Nessus, which is the Exodus Black armor set, it's the helmet is freaking hilarious, by the way. So like they basically, so the Cosmodrome had calculated like the orbit of Nessus. It's 7066 Nessus, which is the moon, the name of the moon. And it's basically, it's like, look, guys, the Cosmodrome was wrong. Nessus isn't where it's supposed to be, which is its own that's a problem in and of itself, because that is problematic for a lot of different reasons. But so it's like the flight officer is saying, Captain, the orbit of 7066 Nessus is different from what the Cosmodrome calculated. Then if you jump up to the body armor, it says adjust course 2 degrees. It's a long way to Kepler 186. We don't have time to tour Nessus. And then going back down to the leg piece, it says, oh, well, we might be stopping at Nessus. After all, we just lost the starboard engine. So something something happened there.
Right.
And then if you look at the entry for it, which is the Exodus Down entry, you actually get a logbook entry, star date, blah, blah, blah. You know, I got a very Star Trek feel from this, except he doesn't have the star date. It's actually from the captain, and this is where he kind of talks about, like, you know, the orbital momentum was somehow folded into 6 extra dimensions that basically put them on a crash course to Nessus. So like it was something wonky with the time, because then he kind of goes on and he's like, past and future are up and down. We could walk them if we could, or we would walk them if we could, and try, like, basically he's like, could we time travel back in the ship to a time when Nessus wasn't here in orbit, so that we could, you know, like, go past it. And it's like, it's really so much interesting little trivia pieces here. Yeah, he said we are now receiving
scannables like that too.
Yeah. One of them is like, we are now receiving our own distress calls. I sound a lot calmer than I feel. It's like, God, that's one of my new little favorite, like, interesting missions that I want more on, is that and Titan's story. I'm not even really worried about what's underneath Titan. I just want to learn more about Pell from Titan. I want to know what's going on with them. The two little trivia. Oh, go for it.
Just to remind something on Titan, I can't remember the name of this resource there, but the resource, it's like arcology.
Alkane.
It's not
Alkane. I think it's Alkane.
Alkane. It's literally like the condensation of methane.
Oh,
is what that translates to. So
okay,
that one's kind of hits you on the nose a bit.
Yeah. Two little trivias for Nessus from the treasure maps. There is actually a acceptable term, or a generally used term among the Guardians for the time after the Traveler was trapped and before we helped to restore everyone's power, and that was when everyone was, quote, lightless. Cade refers to that, and I think there's a couple other idle dialogue quotes that talk about how people, during they were lightless. And then we also learned that Failsafe is actually capable of preventing the Vex from converting the Exodus black. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's because she's actually physically keeping them away from it, or if she is actually capable of preventing them from converting it somehow. But we do know
scannable where she prevented the servitor.
Yeah.
Bonding with her, and she wrecked it.
Yeah, but she didn't wreck it immediately. She left it alive so it could limp away, because the ghost is like, "Oh God, you're actually dangerous." But because I think Exodus Black, one of the treasure maps actually calls out the reason why Cade hid something in where he hid it was because Failsafe had proven that the Exodus Black wouldn't get converted. So he actually hid a treasure chest in the Exodus Black shell, because there's more to the ship than what we see. We just see really the bridge basically. But there's more of it underground and all this. And yeah, Failsafe has been so good at actually keeping the Vex from converting Exodus Black that he actually hid some caches inside the Exodus Black interior, because he knew that the Vex wouldn't get to him.
Have you hung around her at all to hear her idle dialogue? Have you heard the line about Siva?
I haven't heard it, but I've seen it brought up.
It's creepy. It's the files are corrupted, so you don't get any information about it. But she does mention Siva, and Siva is mentioned a few different times, various scannables on a lot of the planets.
Well, yeah, the Exodus program was, there was Exodus Blue and Exodus Red. There were mentions of, Exodus, I think, wasn't it Exodus Red that was Siva?
Well, they sent Siva on some of the different Exodus programs. I can't remember if it was Exodus Red that had it.
Because wasn't Exodus Red the one that was basically the frame driving, and it's all the nanites in the back were swarming, and he was like, "There's all these creation things, but the tyrant."
A lot of
Right. But I thought Red. I want to say that Red was actually the ship that Rasputin sent outside of the solar system with Siva, solely for. I think it was I didn't get the feeling that there were colonists on Red. I thought it was just Siva.
I think Siva was sent with most of the colony ships, though,
which makes sense again.
For what it was used for,
right? Excuse me. Yeah, it makes sense that Siva would be sent with. It was built for colonists. Siva was initially. That's why it's whole thing. So yeah, I don't know. It depends. It depends. Siva. It depends on where they take Siva, because technically in the game, in Destiny 1, it was made very clear that Siva does not have consciousness, but yet at the same time it begs the question, if Siva was introduced into the Vex, what would exactly happen there? Because Vex are kind of because Vex are kind of the living metal, the Radiolarian stuff, and Siva is the microscopic nanites. If you bound the two together, could you technically have a new form of Vex?
It's been proven that the Vex are not the Radiolarian.
I gotta go.
Fluid.
Yeah, I go back and forth because it gets called. So there is a scannable, and then the Prima guide calls the Radiolarian fluid the byproduct. There is a scannable that talks about the Radiolarian fluid being being a biological byproduct. But then there is another scan, And the reason why I kind of hesitate is the other scan that I'm thinking of, it actually calls out a theory by the cryptarchs that the Vex are the radiolarian fluid and that the chassis are just exoskeletons that they drive around. So there's kind of a conflicting scans going on here. One of them is being called out as being a theory of the cryptarchs, and that was, I think it's on Nessus. But then there's another one, and I want to say it was in a lost sector that I have, and I can't find it again. But there is another one in which it kind of mentions that Radiolarians are not necessarily the Vex. Like so we still are on the fence on right, and like we're still kind of on the fence on like what exactly is going on. You know,
there's also a scannable that talks about how the Fallen drained a Vex goblin.
Oh, is there? I haven't found that one yet.
That one's up on a wall on a ledge. I'll have to figure out where it's at. But one of the other things is just it talks about how there's the Vex are from all over the galaxy. Like there's mentions of multiple gardens in one of the scannables.
Yes, I do remember. I remember that one.
It mentions that Nessus, its last time it was in our system, was 127 years ago of our years. There's so many different things that on Nessus that create more questions than it does answers half the time. One of them that I find really interesting is there's a scannable on top of a pillar that's kind of difficult to get to, where it says, if I'm reading this right, when the Vex first installed them, there were over 200 of these here. And it's like this little tiny pillar that's rotating in the air. But as the conversion process went along, conversion process went along, they all got absorbed. That's super interesting to me because Nessus is not a super transformed planet as far as what we think of what a Vex planet would look like. There are parts of it that are.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have the complete transformation that it kind of, I don't know, advertises.
Like Io would be, I would think, more Vexy than Nessus.
Well, Io is more Vexy as far as the Pyramidion.
Right. I guess that's fair point, yeah.
But as far as like the rest of Io, it doesn't have that same feel. It's a lot more desert-like than Nessus.
But I mean, that's also, to me, that would be more Vex because they don't. I don't see the Vex being like heavy garden. Well, I guess they are gardeners, but I mean, like, you know, like I don't see them. I don't know.
Oh, we're talking about breeding.
Oh yeah,
Titan.
yeah.
There's something on Nessus in a very similar way. They talk about how they're trying to their own things, like to self-replicate, which is kind of intimidating. And where's that scannable at? It's in one of the missions underneath. It's in a really hard place to get to because it's underneath your normal map. Oh, here's a scannable that's also interesting. In this timeline, in some simulation of some far distant future on some alternative version of Nessus, this energy beam might serve some purpose that we understand. Not here, though. So that's scary, the fact that it's here, but it's not necessarily supposed to be here. Like, parts of Nessus are constantly fluctuating.
Right, but that kind of goes back to the reason why Exodus Black had an issue was because they're like, wait, this isn't where it's supposed to be. Like,
it causes its own time rifts.
Right, but I mean, but what I'm saying is like it's literally like, is it phasing through different realities in a way that it's like actually displacing itself in a gravitational circuit? Like,
we know that it does it with certain items.
Right. And that's what I mean is like, so like what I take from this is like those beacons, are they actually beacons, or are they basically waypoint holders that are designating the boundaries of an actual slipstream window?
Well, one of the scannables that is over by one of the drop-off points talks about how the beacon is holding the land mass up.
Right. That's what I mean. And the reason I'm asking is because FYI, Dark Matter season 3 is on Netflix. Amazing show. But there's a device within the show that actually allows, if they don't use it right, it allows the punching into an alternate realities. And one of the ways that they have to designate, like, one of the reasons they get punched into another space like realm is because they didn't set up the boundaries correctly, and so they're on a space station and basically break it in half with this device because the waypoint for the bubble that they were going to create didn't get set right. So for me, I'm hearing, like, when you're talking about like Nessus and all these beacons, I'm hearing that's like an actual like set point that says, hey, no, this is the boundary for this, and then you connect it to different boundaries, and that creates the spherical 3D model that allows them to kind of fluctuate through time realities. And then
like
you
a
also
little tag point.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically, you know how you have mocap, how you have all the little tag points on the actor's face? That's what it is. It's basically a tag point on the planet. And then, because you see that, excuse me, you see that within the entry for Exodus Black, when he's talking about the sixfold of time and how, like, they roll through time and all this. And it would also explain why the Cosmodrome's calculations, I mean, the problem with the calculations being off is that anyone who is, you know, slightly familiar with astronomy, the calculations are pretty freaking accurate. Like, and it's calculations that are down to like very, very specific levels. So for them to be off to the degree that they have misplaced a small planetoid is, it's highly suspect. Like, I'm not really sure that's like, it would be a gross misunderstanding of what's going on, I think. Whereas if you have a planetoid that is literally kind of Doctor Whoing itself around the galaxy, you know, I mean, I don't know I don't know a better explanation.
Nessus
Yeah.
a blue.
It's a blue telephone box, and it is bigger on the inside, but because we can go inside and we can see it. But the like, if you have something that is doing that, though, that would explain why your calculations are completely off, right? Because it's literally hop skipping around, and you can't calculate that.
Well, that's kind of like one of the missions that you do on Nessus, where Failsafe gets captured by the Vex for a little bit.
I haven't done that one yet.
Oh, that one's really good, because she was in there for like 5 minutes in like the Vex mind and everything. And she sees it like she's been in there for a decade at least.
Oh, it's like the cookie from Black Mirror. Which is a terrible episode. Makes me so sad. But yes.
There's another connection that Nessus has, is that one of the scannables, it says, I'm getting some interesting signals here. This thing is connecting to something opposite Mercury's orbit on the far side of the sun. What's out there? So that's another little mystery. You also get hints of Osiris.
Yay! Yes, you do.
Nessus.
Someone with a lot of light made an impression on the Vex. Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
That's actually my favorite little adventure, is the one where you hear about Osiris, where Osiris basically waves hi to you from inside the Vex network.
I haven't run that one just yet, but I've heard a lot of people telling me about it.
It's so good. It is my absolute favorite so far as adventures go. Anyway. I mean, there's lots of different scannables and stuff I'm sure we're going to get into in the future, but those are some really good generic ones that kind of give you an idea of what Nessus has on it.
Yeah. And I mean, and I guess, I probably should have said this at the start, but I mean, if there's a particular topic that you guys want us to dive into, you want the chat to dive into, and we don't have it on the poll, just let us know. We'll gladly add it. There's going to be a lot of opportunities to do this. But do you want to jump, talking about the Vex and all that, do you want to jump to IO and talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, let's go to the one place that I haven't finished my scannables because these ones are really hard to find for some reason.
They require a lot of verticality.
Okay. I use the Prima Guide. There's another website that describes them. They're not easy to find because everything looks the same there. And we don't have a compass on our little mini-map. It makes things very difficult to navigate.
It's surprising how difficult it actually does make it.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, little rant over.
Do you want to grab the...
Nessus, we're going to do IO. Okay.
IO.
IO was the last place visited by the traveler, and apparently my dogs are visiting IO right now.
I was about to say, are they... Mom, we're going on a trip there next week.
Yeah. IO is actually another moon satellite. I guess it's not necessarily... It's a satellite, right?
I believe so. You're asking the wrong person.
Jupiter. Don't quote me on that yet. I'll have to look it up.
It's a planet. It's orbiting Jupiter. I know that.
Yes. It's a satellite, aka moon. Thank you. Well, moon and satellite are interchangeable. Anyway, Io was the last place visited by the traveler, and the site of great interest to both humanity and the timeless Vex machines. The Red Legion, too, now seek to unravel the secrets and power of this place, gouging at the surface, seeking to uncover new sources of power to aid in their quest to dominate our worlds. It is up to you to protect this place and preserve its great legacy.
And then from the Prima Donna, it's a partially terraformed planetoid orbiting Jupiter. Io was abandoned by the Traveler, though Ikora Rey and the Warlock Guardians consider the area around the Echo Mesa mountain to be sacred. Currently, this region has seen recent Cabal activity, though the Red Legion appear to be actively fleeing the world rather than savaging it. The reason may involve some concerning anomalies detected by Asher Mur. Although this area has examples of impressive Vex architecture, the telltale signs of Taken activity are present throughout the place.
So Asher...
Asher is Green's favorite person ever. She absolutely loves him.
Asher's actually probably one of the more interesting of the vendors that we get to hang out with because he was transformed.
Yeah.
That is really... And he's still contagious. Like, it's still growing.
Yes.
It's still changing.
What's this? The armor suit. The Jinsim Scribe, or Jinsim Knight entry actually is a letter from Asher to Eris talking about that and how he is still being converted.
Which this is a fairly new conversion because Asher is the person of interest in the card where we see Eris last.
Yes.
Where Eris is sitting next to his bedside, and he is the first one kind of has this conversion happening. And this conversion happens inside of the Pyramidion. It's part of that strike where you learn a little bit more about it that I can't remember the name because writing down names is difficult when you're playing a strike with people who just want to run through it, and it's a nightfall. But,
what?
Yeah.
You just tell them to stop.
Yeah.
Don't they listen that way?
Not on a nightfall when you're timed.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true.
But as far as...
Brachian. Thanks, Hurt Chain.
Yes. Yeah, thanks, Hurt. The Genesis Mind. Which was actually a really easy nightfall this week, by the way. Anyway. Asher has a bunch of beef with the Vex and now has a connection directly to the Vex, which he can actually feel when there is a disturbance in the Force. Don't copyright infringe me, Star Wars, I am sorry. Yeah, whenever a public event starts up on Io, one of his lines talks about how he feels the difference happening. And he also has neutrinos scattering differential things, and I feel like I should be pushing up my glasses right now because Asher's
I just love Ghost. Ghost, like, God, can you imagine running a strike with this guy?
He would just not stop talking, I'm sure. Or he'd just complain the whole time. It's like that was adequate.
Oh, yeah. You have found your calling. Good job, assistant. You didn't die.
It's not the way that I would have done it, but your methods are unorthodox. But anyway, yeah, he drives me crazy. It's like, and apparently he's messy. Like, he's unorganized, according to Ghost, because some of the scannables, he's like, you would think somebody who is like the upmost person on the Vex would be a little bit more organized.
Yeah, he's a classic. He's a classic intellectual. Like, he's so focused on what he's doing that he's not paying attention to organization around him. From the treasure maps, we actually learned quite a bit on the treasure maps from Io. Excuse me. First off, Kate is not friends with Asher, which
surprise!
Is not a big surprise. But some of the caches on Io, at least, are actually loot lockers from Cade's vault in the tower. So the promotional video where Cade is really mad that Gary has taken his stuff, that's Io. Like, there is an actual nod to the fact that these are parts of his vault from the tower. We get a really, really cool quote from Banshee. It's this: sometimes the deeper you go, the less you'll ever understand. And coming from an EXO, that should make you kind of stop and think a little bit there, because Banshee 44 has been all but confirmed that number is the number of times that a EXO is wiped or is
visited the Deep Stone Crypt.
It's basically the times that they have been reset. What that exactly entails, what that means, we don't know, but it has been, that has been pretty much confirmed. There is a scannable on the tower that actually confirms that.
The last login terminal was from Banshee 44, but he tried and failed so many logins as Banshee 41 that it locked him out.
Yeah.
All those reboots might have finally gotten to him.
Reboots, that's the word that I was... Yeah, reboot was what it was. So we don't know... I mean, I will also put in there that we don't know that a reboot is a visit to the Deep Stone Crypt, whether that be digitally or physically. And there is still some arguments, with me at least, because in Destiny 1, the numbers have been explained as being physically on the Exos, actually etched into their skin in some cases. So my challenge is, if it's the number of reboots, how does the number get updated? But there's been a lot of conversation with those. But then we also learned, so going back to the understanding that Io is a sacred space for the Warlocks, we learned that Albios, so anyone who remembers this name from Destiny 1, Albios was a Warlock that had a set of armor, basically, that explained the 5 lives of Albios, in which he basically hunted down an Ahamkara on Venus. Albios's memorial service was on Io. Now, the other thing is there is a grove on Io that is named in memory of Ulan Tan, who is a name that has gained in mentions, especially in Destiny 2 with the symmetry. There's an entire grove named for Ulan Tan on Io. So this actually kind of brings me to an idea that possibly Io, before the whole thing with between the whole thing before the Red War, is we know that the Titans were buried at the wall. It could be that Io is kind of the burial place of Warlocks. mostly because Io is being called as sacred to warlocks. We also do learn that Cade was friends with Albios. He refers to him as Al. He has his like a nickname for Albios, which is just an interesting thing because Albios was a warlock who kind of skirted the rules because he was the one that went after Ahamkara, which kind of makes sense that Cade would align with him.
Right.
Now, this is and then the last piece is the piece that I was talking about when we were talking about Nessus. There is a treasure map that is basically Cade explaining to you Eris, and I'm just going to read it because it's amazing. And it's Cade, and he says, "You know Eris Morn, right? Creepy, three-eyed old hunter, too much foundation. Doesn't matter." she comes... I'm sorry. I have to stop there just because... All right, so anyways, she comes in and asks me how Io was, and I say, wrong Vanguard, ask Ikora. And she's like, I was hoping that cache by the bones marked your grave. And I'm like, I'm an exo. I left my bones behind a long time ago. And she goes, exactly. You get anything from that? Like, because the thing with the treasure maps, you know, if you read the treasure maps, you find out that Cade is the equivalent of a like hyperactive squirrel. He stashes things everywhere and doesn't remember where he's put anything. Like if you ever watch a squirrel bury acorns, that's where half the trees in this planet come from, I swear, because squirrels don't remember where they hide things. And so, I mean, I now see Cade as a giant, like bushy-tailed squirrel that's like hiding all this random stuff around. And so, like, all the treasure maps are all like, yeah, I think this was this. I wrote a note. Don't look down is one of his. Cade really likes hiding things in places that you have to jump. But yeah, so yeah, Eris is three-eyed, creepy old hunter with too much foundation.
Which actually terrifies me a little bit because if she's wearing a lot of foundation, what is she covering up?
I think it's just Cade being Cade.
It may just be Cade, but
I just love
a terrifying thought.
I love that one little piece there. Old hunter, too much foundation.
Yeah.
Oh, so but yeah. So I mean, what I kind of called out there is that is kind of a nod that exos are nearly completely mechanical almost. There is really no organic material in an exo. At least that's kind of, to me, that's how I read that. You know, or if there is organic material, it is not their own. So,
which is a little weird also to think.
Oh yeah, no, that's a whole different level of oddness. But
I don't think we mentioned that Io is the last place that the Traveler touched before the collapse.
Oh god, this is a huge debate.
That's one of the lines that Ikora says when you do the mission with her, which I think it's not Hope. What is that one called?
All I remember from her is like Road Rage or something, which was hilarious.
Rage?
Yeah, there's a mission. Isn't that one of hers? Like Fury.
That one.
Road Rage. That's an adventure. Road Rage is the adventure. Sacrilege and Fury are the campaign missions on Io.
Okay. So she mentions that it's the last place that the Traveler touched. What's interesting is that it touches down in that little thing that she looks out at, and I want to know what that is. Like, if I had a chance to go out there, I would. To explore that little circle Stonehenge-like area landing pad, because it's a nice little landing pad for the Traveler.
It's a nice little landing pad.
It is.
Yeah, I can see that.
But Io is also still full of the Traveler's energy.
Yes,
which
a lot of
really cool.
That's what every time you walk by a pipe in Io and all the all the blue liquid, that is all the energy that the Cabal are trying to pump out, if I remember. Isn't that Io or that Nessus? I get those two mixed up. So no, that is Io.
There's a mission on Io where the Taken show up, because Taken are actually a really big enemy class that shows up on Io,
Mhm.
that there's a wells, like a spring appears essentially of light, and it shoots out orbs of light throughout this ending of this mission. And you run around collecting that, and it's basically another chance to just do super fast to get rid of all the Taken. And you also get shot up into the air when you go into the well of light, and it's kind of a pain in the butt because you can easily die. Anyway, but
Green does not like verticality, is what I'm taking.
this is why I don't play Warlock. I do. Okay, I have a Warlock. It has finished the first mission. I have made it to the farm.
I applaud your hard work on that one. Let's see. So the trivia from Io is really the Jensen scribes, like what exactly is going on with them, because Asher is a Jensen scribe, but he's not so like it's an actual collection. And I'm excited that we're getting a little bit more information on them from Destiny 2, even though it's not a lot more. But we do know from Destiny 1 that the Jensen scribes are connected to the Vex, obviously. And then with Asher's transformation, we learned that the transformation was not voluntary, which is a clarification for us. That was a very important clarification because there was a lot of theories that it was a voluntary thing. But we find out that no, that's not the case. The resource on Io, I think is this the phase glass? Is that Io?
Yes.
It's interesting as well. And then the vendor, we talked about the vendor. Let's see. Oh man.
Io's the location of the Pyramidion.
Yep, that's right.
Is a really interesting one that I would like to go into more depth of at some point, because the history background of what Pyramidion is kind of fun.
The shaders are echoes and flowers. I just realized that we hadn't talked about the shaders yet.
For the other ones.
For the other ones. Nessus shaders were Mirage and Pursuit. And then Titans are Pacific, Sync, and Rush. Titans are like blue-gray. Nessus is kind of, if I remember right, Nessus is the... I don't remember Nessus shaders, actually, to be honest.
What was it called again?
The Mirage and Pursuit. I'm seeing if I have... they're like, it's like so it's like digital. It's a digital camo, and it's a kind of a sandstone-esque color with gray and off-white is the Mirage.
Nessus is very similar. It's more of a digit pattern as far as the camo goes.
Yeah, the Pursuit. It's a darker red. It looks like. Darker red, but it's that digital camo. Digital camo, for those who are not familiar with that, so camouflage is like the plant life pattern. Digital camo is basically blocks.
Looks a lot like the Vex.
Well, yeah. You get a lot of it like with like the Hake camo, and some of those other ones. That was Nessus. Io is, I want to say Io is, trying to remember the color for the echoes. Okay, Io is yellow and then brownish. It's more like a desert, which makes sense. It's like a sand color. That's the echoes. And I don't know. I actually don't know if I have seen flowers.
I have it.
Is it another yellowish?
It's got kind of a greenish yellow and teal blue. The blue is...
Oh, here it is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a green.
Yeah, it's like a light teal, and then a kind of a
like a dirty yellow.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what you would really call it, but yeah, it's like a dirty gold yellow, and then a lot of browns on Io, which again kind of makes sense. And then so that's the shader situation for those. And that way I don't get in trouble for Mel for not bringing it up, but I also don't get in trouble for going into like a huge detailed conversation without her being here to correct me. Let's see. Jensen Knight set is the Io armor set. Again, kind of tying back into the Asher connection there. So yeah, I think that's really all I got for like an intro to the worlds. Everything. I mean, we can go on and on and on and on for all the information that we have.
Do you want to give like a quick shout out to some of the other areas that have appeared that we know about?
Yeah, you can, the other regions that are technically there, but aren't technically like worlds
accessible.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you do that because that's I haven't unlocked all of them yet.
One of them is the Leviathan, obviously, that Callus rides gloriously, and you can actually explore that without a fire team. Beware, if you go into an area kind of in the back, you accidentally kick off the raid and get murderized pretty quick. I found that out the hard way. I was jumping around and I found the area with the holograms of the dog and all the different things that you have to call out because there's a lot of different symbology that happens during that raid. And I touched it. And much like Aladdin and
Abu.
What was the name? Abu that touches the
giant ruby.
Just a swarm. I didn't even hear him because I didn't have my headphones. I just get swarmed by Cabal dressed in gold and dogs, and it was in like loincloth types. I don't know. It was kind of awkward. I said hi. They murdered me. It was fun. I don't think I'll be going back looking for a while, though.
Don't do it again.
Don't do it again. And then the other area that I actually haven't been to, but I'd like to actually give it a shot to go back to, is where we get the emissary at the 9. And I don't think that is technically on Io, or not on Io. I don't think it's technically on Mercury. I think it's its own thing, isn't it?
Is that the Gauntlet? I don't do PvP, so I am not I'm not even going to pretend.
So Trials of the 9, you used to go to Mercury, right?
Right, the lighthouse. But I think isn't that the one that unlocks? You unlock it with only one win, but then if you go flawless, you get like the Star Pony connection.
Kind of, yeah. It's actually really creepy. The horse. I wonder what the horse means.
I just saw it and I was like, oh, that's the whatever Sparkle Pony or whatever the shader was.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's a throwback. But it's like a tower, spire.
It's a terrible shader. That's the only reason I remember it.
I liked that shader. Okay.
It's just like the Jester. I mean, it's a shader that has its time and place.
Yeah. Everything has its own time and place. But this one's really weird, and the emissary is kind of creepy. Don't know exactly who she is, besides that she's another emissary of the 9 like Zur, except for she does not have tentacle face, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, and we'll take the win for that.
But yeah, if each amount of wins that you get kind of unlocks, like if a certain amount unlocks the next level of the spire, so you can go up there and get more rewards for the more wins that you have.
Okay.
And then once you get to flawless, you unlock kind of a well where you jump down a hole and it's like space thing, and you end up at the bottom of it, and you turn around and giant emissary staring at you and talking at you. And then you turn around again and you see a giant celestial horse, and it's like, I don't have any illegal substances to help with this experience. I don't know what's going on. I'd like to know more. I'd like to know more.
I didn't confused. Take anything. I'm so
I don't
confused.
Understand. All the trippy things that we play. That is the trippiest.
And then there is technically the last city, the tower, which is not the tower, which we've mentioned. Other than that, I'm trying to think. Other than the EDZ, there are a couple other areas. There's obviously the farm, which is kind of right outside the EDZ / right inside the EDZ. And then the last city, which we are, if you're in stream right now, that's what we're messing around with inside of right now. I'm trying to think.
The shard is its own location.
Shard, yep. The shard is its own location inside the EDZ that's only unlocked in the subclass quest, which we will definitely be talking about next week. Let's see. I think those are the only big other areas, right? The only other regions?
Those are the big primary ones that we deal with in the opening stuff. I don't know if there's going to be a whole lot else for a while, maybe until we get our next DLC, but those are the big ones that you interact with. We do get to fight, as far as PvP, we do get to fight in the Leviathan. We get to fight in various places on most of the planets, I believe. I'm trying to think of some of the ones. There's the castle, the fortress one, which is kind of fun, and you get to fight. There's the Cabal launchers on one of them. Can't remember if that's on Nessus or if that's on Io. But PvP stuff, there's really not a whole lot of lore thrown in PvP. I don't see any scannables in there.
Yeah, at least not yet, I think.
Right.
I'm hoping that once we get if we get custom games again, we'll get like we got with the ghost fragments. Oh, yep, Hertz, right? There is the Almighty technically.
Oh, which is Almighty. That was fun. I liked it. I know not everybody liked that mission.
I mean, it wasn't bad. I wish it was like, I don't know. I wish we could have explored it a little bit more on it, actually. But I didn't. I mean, like, I didn't really mind it too much.
I enjoyed the fact that they. I just wish they would have made a sunscreen joke. Quite frankly, there was a missed opportunity there, guys. Really, really missed opportunity. But I love the fact that you actually get damaged because you go out in the solar rays, and quite frankly, if we were that close to the sun anyway, you would probably be crisp. You would be dehydrated very quickly. But, as far as the machine goes itself, I'm sure we'll go into our thoughts on the Almighty and stuff if we talk about the campaign at all. Yeah,
well, and I can also see us doing especially if, like chat's saying right now, if it comes back, like the Almighty comes back, like as a playable area later on, we probably will definitely do something talking about that. Or if we do, when we do like an update, when we do an update on the Cabal or something like that, I think that's going to be obviously a pretty big piece of that particular story update.
Mm-hmm. The Cabal and all the traders and all the fun stuff with that. Okay. Yeah, I don't think there's anywhere else. I mean, the Almighty was the last place in the campaign that we went to before he turned into a version of Fern Gully. The smog giant is all I see whenever I see Gull explode into the light avatar.
I didn't think of that, but yes, that's exactly right. That's so accurate.
But yeah, that's all I've got.
All right. Well, I know we do have a couple dispatches real quick. If you want to do those, they're not like 100% on topic for this one, but they both have really good questions. So I really wanted to include them if we could. Are you good for that?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Dispatches from the wilds.
All right, so the first one is actually from Chargoon, and Chargoon sent in and said, "Hello all, Chargoon again. Are you liking the new Grimoire tabs? The Mida one cracked me up, both by supporting a headcanon that Shax was the one messing with our guns, and for giving Zavala attitude. Have a great weekend." Yes, I am really enjoying the lore entries, is what I think I've kind of come to start calling them. I like how they if you've been paying attention to your items, they're not only on exotics, they are on some legendaries. So, before you start just like sharding things, jump into the detail screen and actually see if it's there. I don't know if we have any rhyme or reason on why some of them have it and some of them don't. But I've been enjoying them. Green, what are your thoughts on them?
I actually I'm enjoying the stories. I really love the entries because a lot of them are quite hilarious. Like the Durang one is quite funny. That one's easy to pull up.
Your message, GD, does not send.
But oh gosh, PG. Gotta remember it's PG.
I know. Yeah, it's like.
But the thing that my biggest worry about the lore tab or the lore entries like this is kind of what you alluded to just there. The fact that we have some legendaries, and the exotics obviously have a lore tab, but some of the legendaries do too. And unless you go into details, you don't know which ones they are. I wish there was some sort of marker on just the hover screen. So if you were to hover over the item, just your little tiny one, to say, hey, this one has it. Like they all have flavor text, but if this one had like a tiny little icon up in the right corner or even down at the bottom that said this one has lore, like a little or something.
I can see that being.
That would be helpful because I am one of those people who don't look at the details on most guns because I am not good about picking guns that have good stats because I don't care. I just find something I like and then I use it.
Yep.
So I don't ever get into details.
I guess that's a fair point. If you're not looking at the perks itself, then yeah. Okay, so that is that one, and then we have a fun one. I was hoping Justin was going to be on because this one's actually kind of something that is near and dear to his heart. It's from Flavorful Jam PG3, and he sent in. He says, "Hey FFC, I have a very straightforward but very complex question. Whatever happened to the Rainbow Death Squad's machine? And what about this machines that Lakshmi 2 and 2 other civilians are sitting in? Could those be some version of the machine? I would just love to hear your thoughts. Thanks, Flavorful Jam PG3. So to clarify real quick, the machines that he is talking about are in the new tower. If you go into the Future War Cults, I don't even know what to call this thing. Gaming studio, I guess.
It is
it's like a
futuristic lounge.
Yeah, I view it as like the Eastern gaming shops where you go in and it's like all the computers lined up against the wall, and the lady that's sitting in the smoke and mirrors up here creepily looking at everyone. That's what he's talking about. I don't think so. Here's the thing. I don't think these machines. Now I don't know about Lakshmi's, but the machines that the civilians are sitting in, I don't see those being parts of the machine that we see in the future war cults journals. Mostly because these people seem rather at peace with themselves. There's no seizures. There's no screaming. I don't think that would do well for their image to have people, frothing at the mouth and spasming out in their high end egg chair Google seats. So I don't see these as being aspects of the machine. Now, Lakshmi's might be tied into the machine. She just did a really creepy head roll in stream. Oh gosh, now she's talking to me. I'm leaving. But like Lakshmi's, I could see hers being tied into the machine as far as like updates and like information. We do have, this is something that I was talking to a couple of the team over on Ishtar about, but we do have a lore. I don't think it's an entry, but it's a flavor text somewhere that hints that I don't really want to. There is a hint that a character from Destiny 1 dies that they see in the machine, and there is an attempt to hide it from Lakshmi. So there's yes, yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah, it's very sad because. But anyways, but. So there's a nod to the fact that Lakshmi might not be as 100% aware of all the other things as everyone kind of thinks she is, but that kind of also points to the fact, in my mind, that machine, that computer that she's sitting at, is maybe a concatenation device for all the information that is being collected through the Future War Cult's machine, in which case the lore little snippet that I'm talking about would make sense, because they're actually trying to redact files from being sent to Lakshmi, or we're assuming that that's Lakshmi that they're talking about, but they're basically trying to hide the files and not record them. And so if she is sitting in basically like a concatenation machine or a collection point for it, and reviewing the data, that would make a lot of sense. So I don't think that the machines are necessarily the machine, but I think that there is a possibility that Lakshmi's interface that you see might have a remote connection, if you would, to at least the data output from the machine. As far as what happened to it, I don't think the machine was in the tower to begin with.
No, I don't think so either.
So I don't really feel like there was any threat, if you would, of it getting destroyed with the Red War, or with the invasion that we saw.
The machine was originally found in India, wasn't it? In that area?
it was in that area, I think, if I remember. I think that's correct. But like, I mean, and we know that they moved. I'm pretty sure they moved it. I think I remember reading something about them like putting it back together.
Well,
so like
one where the Scions do something similar.
Right. But yeah, so I think the machine's still fine, and they're still using it. Cause we have new records. So either we're getting access to, more historical records, or they're actually, they're actually still using it, which is what I would imagine is going on. But Green, I don't know. What are your? Sorry, I've actually that is something that I've actually thought about, which is why I wanted to include that dispatch, because I know I just had that conversation, and so when I saw this one, I was like, oh, this would be a fun thing. But what are your thoughts?
I can't imagine that future work with foreseeing the Red Legion War.
Oh God, yeah. Didn't remove one of their most important assets.
Exactly. I can't imagine them just leaving it there. I have a feeling somewhere we're quite safe as far as the future television has. But I don't know. I'm interested in the machine, but I'm also interested in kind of the OXA machine, the OXA machine as well, because that's something we get mention of in the was it the Legendary, where you get the Cabal letters from Callus?
Yeah. The Scions.
Similarly. And so I'm interested in knowing if the Scions one and the Future War Cult one kind of have
because then you also have the Fulminator from which is I want to know what is going on with her. She is like, that is a really cool concept. I think that's a really interesting concept, the entire thing of a being of pure arc, and how it's like they describe her thoughts of Stormcallers as being like lesser forms of herself, basically. I was like, that's an interesting kind of thing.
That sounds like next week.
Yeah. That's a good point, actually. So yeah, those are the two dispatches. Again, thank you guys for sending those in. We really appreciate, you guys sending in questions. You can send in the dispatches via email like Chargoon and Flavorful did, or you can send them to me over on Discord in a private message, or you can send, however you want to send them, just get them to me, and I will make sure that we try to read as many of them as we can.
Can they send them to you on Twitter through
yes.
a DM?
Yes, Twitter, Discord, whatever you're most comfortable. Carrier pigeon.
Please don't. Those are messy.
I don't know how you would train the carrier pigeon to find me, but if you can, I will actually give you super kudos for that.
Yeah.
It also might be a little creepy, but whatever. But yeah, no, definitely get those over to us, because we really like hearing your guys' thoughts and opinions and stuff. But yeah, so final comments and shout outs. Green, you wanna lead the charge on this one?
Sure. My shout outs are going to go to the Gunter group, the group of guys and gals that are collecting all that information, and Rhino for being so stinking awesome and organizing everything, because wow, like I want to curse at all the information gathering. It's that intense. Everybody's getting on board with gathering information. I'm trying to gather stuff, and they're doing a great job pulling it together and helping out Ish and just making sure we have something to pull from for this show and for other lore people who want it. My shout out goes to them, definitely. And the book club for October, I have a challenge, because since everybody's life is kind of hectic right now, it seems, even in chat, like a lot of our normal chatters are having some stressful things going on right now.
This month has been like bad.
It's been like hurricanes and all that stuff. My challenge is a challenge for October, and I want you to take October to write an entry for the book tab or book chat about your favorite book, period. Whether it is a single book out of a series or a series of itself. And I want you to basically write an ad to try to convince people to read it. And it can't be like have a conversation about it. I want you to write a concise ad roll, like if you were reading an ad, to convince somebody to read your book and why it's so good. That's my challenge to you guys, because I want to hear what you guys like to read. I've been putting a lot of things that I like to read, and I like to do some of the summaries that way, but I want to hear why these are your favorite books, so we can A, kind of start the conversation about those books, and B, get more books for the lore whole. Anyway, that's my challenge for next
week. I like that one. Mine are pretty straightforward. Big thanks again to those who sent in dispatches, and then also, be sure if you guys want, what you also can do is on Twitter. I forgot to mention this. Use the hashtag AskFFC, or email us, Discord, however you want. The topic for next week is going to be the evolution of light. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the changes that we've seen in the game so far and all that. And then a big shout out and a big thank you to, and I'm going to butcher your username, just a warning, Lukulele, for the subscription over on Twitch. We really appreciate the support. But yeah, so that is all I got for tonight. If you guys want to stick around for a little bit, we'll probably have a little bit of an after show. With that, we'll begin to wrap the chat up. Thank you again to those over on Twitch for coming to spend your evening with us. If you'd like to join us for a live streaming of the episode each week, please be sure to give us a follow over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. Links to all our other sites can also be found with our episode archives over on the new and improved www.focusfirechat.com. Please be sure to email us at focusfirechat@gmail.com with any feedback or questions for our team concerning the podcast. And please, please, please let us know how we're doing by giving us some feedback on iTunes as well. Also, make sure to check out our partner podcast within the Guardian Radio Network over on theguardiansofdestiny.com. So, until next time, focus your fire and may your light shine bright.